Hi Logan and Lucas, this is Mrs. Jansen and I am ready to share your next project. And this project, the two of you are both going to be working on. And I wanted to show you first an example of what we'll be doing. We are going to be making fall landscapes. And our landscapes are going to be done in oil pastels, and you can see kind of the top of it. We're going to be doing a pumpkin farm or patch, and it's going to be at night. And we're going to be working on kind of a night sky with the moon, and we're going to be adding pumpkins. These pumpkins are actually separate drawings that we will do, and then we will layer them so that we have ones that are in the foreground, ones that are in the midground, and the background. So we'll be doing those, and then we'll be working on kind of a grassy base for it. This project will be done in two parts. So today we're going to be working on the pumpkins themselves. So the supplies that you are going to need for the full project are the large black sheet of paper, which today for our first part you won't need to have near you. The second one is these cream colored sheets that I have given you. Now having this large paper around will help you figure out how big you kind of need to make your pumpkins. We're going to try and fit 3 on one sheet of paper. You're going to need a pencil, and you're going to want a nice eraser, so eraser cap or an eraser that works nice on your pencil, or of course really big eraser. And then you're going to need your oil pastels. For our next lesson, you will have to also use a glue stick, but we won't get to that today. And you will also need a scissors, but again, we'll use that in lesson part 2 of this. Okay, so to begin with, we are going to be working on with our large kind of cream colored sheet of paper. And just a reminder, when we look at our pumpkins, we are going to be doing 3 different sizes. We're going to do a large one, a medium one, and then a small one. And by having them different sizes, they will appear to be farther away. So today, in this project, we'll be focusing on building perspective and layering. And then we also, when we're coloring in, we are going to be working on adding highlights and thinking about how light affects objects. So those are the things to think about. We're going to start with the pumpkins. So on this big sheet of paper, we want to figure out how to fit 3 pumpkins on, which means that we might turn our paper around as we go. If you happen to have some pumpkins in your house, I have a couple of mini pumpkins in front of me. What's good about having actual pumpkins in front of you is it will help you to see how they have the different lines and texture. And you can see I have an overhead light, and you can see how the light affects the pumpkin. You can see the highlights here, and then you can see the shadows and how dark it gets in the creases where there is no light hitting it. So having a pumpkin near you will help you figure out how to draw it and add color. So I recommend that if you don't have one, that maybe you find a picture on the internet. So I'm going to put my pumpkins near me so I can look at them while we're drawing. So we're going to start with our biggest pumpkin first. I'm going to work here on the left side. Our pumpkins can come in a bunch of different shapes. I'm going to make my large pumpkin. I'm going to make him kind of tall, And I'm just going to keep adding these lines and layers about that, like that. And then of course I'm going to add a stem. Now we're going to be coloring these in, so it is okay if it's not perfect, okay? And if you have to erase some lines, that's fine. Okay, so this is going to be my largest pumpkin, which means that I need to get a medium one in and then a small. So the medium one, this one is so tall, I'm going to make the medium one kind of squatty, and I'm going to bring it to the edges of my paper. All right, and I'm going to put those lines in. And again, we'll make room for a stem. All right, so you can kind of see how that goes. And we'll see if we can get now a smaller pumpkin here. And I just am going to, I'm going to basically make a pumpkin the shape, however big I can make it within this space. So you can see I overlapped here a little bit, that those will just get cut apart. And again, this one's going to have a little bit of a stubby stem because that's all that will fit. So you can see I've got 3 pumpkins here. One that's really big, one that's medium, and one that is small. And I just want you to go ahead and take time to fit 3 different sizes of pumpkins on your paper. Once you've done that, then we'll go ahead and start coloring it in. So pause the video if you need to and make sure that you have all your pumpkins in. All right, so the oil pastels that you will be working with, I want to show you again so you can start to see our pumpkins here. You can see I've got a lot of colors in here. This color that is almost green looking, these pumpkins were done on black, so that is what the yellow turned into. But what we're going to want is, we're going to want orange, any oranges, we're going to want yellow, we're going to want white, we're going to want any browns that you have in your pack, we're going to want black, and we're going to want red. And we're going to use all of those together to blend together to have shadow on the bottom and highlights on the top where we're going to have the pumpkins being lit up by the moon. So I'm going to pull all of those colors from my pack. I'm going to pull out the reds and the browns, and I'm going to set those on the side. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to get started. And because this paper already has a yellowish tint, we won't have to work so hard on the coverage. So that's nice. That's going to be our base. But I'm going to start with a basic orange. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of outline those lines that I put in. And it'll be real interesting, of course, because your pumpkins will be unique and they will look different than my own. So it'll be fun to see. Now, if your oil pastels are uncovered and you can work with them on their side like this, go ahead and fill in this space that way, because that really does go much faster. So I want you just to go ahead and put a really nice outline initially of the orange, and then go ahead and you can work with the oil pastel on the side and fill it in. And so you're going to use your other orange and yellow colors as well. And you'll just go in once you have that covered, and you'll start blending a lighter or a different orange on top of it. And as you watch me do this, you can see that I am slowly filling in all of the space that where the paper came through. It becomes much more solid. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that over this whole pumpkin here, just so you guys can kind of see it. And then that way you'll be able to go in and do your own. So, and I'll just go in. And you can use this one on its side as well if you want. The thing about oil pastels is that it's all about building layers and layers of them. They just work really well that way. And so that I think they're a lot of fun to work with, and this makes them different than regular crayons. So now I have a yellow, and I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to use my yellow on the side, and I'm just going to blend this a little bit on the side. And you can see it's gotten even more solid, so there's even less paper. So each step we're seeing less paper, and we're mixing and blending those colors. And you just do that. Do that over and over. Like that. Okay, so I have this covered pretty solidly. This is a good start for the base. We're going to go in, I've got kind of this dark yellow or a light sandy brown, and I'm going to put in the stem, okay? If you have a pumpkin in front of you, you can really use that then to kind of look at how the stems work. You know, are they really dark? Are they light? And I'm doing the same things with the stem that I did with the rest of the pumpkin, where I'm just adding layers. Okay, I'm going to pull up the ones that are the practice ones. So basically we have the base of these of color. Now we want to put in some of the dark colors at the bottom and maybe put a little bit of shadow in parts of the ridges where those lines are. So we know that this pumpkin is going to be upright and that the moon is going to be coming down on it. So up here is where we're going to have it light, and down here we're going to need it dark. So I'm going to go in with my red, and I'm just going to outline some of these, just the bottom, okay? So at first that's going to look weird, and that's okay. And then we're going to take our brown. I've got my brown, and I'm going to, that is the wrong brown, that was too light, going in with my dark brown, and I'm going to kind of blend in that as well. And I'm going to kind of start pulling up. I'm going to put the brown on the whole base of this pumpkin. And you can take your finger and smear it. We have enough oil pastel on here now that we can blend, we can start to blend it. You can see. We can add a little bit more red to that base. And again, that's just to make it a little bit darker. And we can blend it with our fingers. You can also go over it with a little bit of your orange again and use that to help blend it. I'm going to use my darker orange, which I just broke. That's what happens. And again, then you can blend it. And you can see I have pieces on my finger of the oil pastels that come off. And I'm just going to keep smearing and blending And again, there's some more of those little pieces that have come loose, and I'm going to blend those in. And you can see how I'm just kind of pulling up that color, and it even will kind of make marks on it. And of course my finger's getting a little dirty. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is get your black, and you're going to be really careful with the black. You're only going to do it just on the bottom edges. You can see how that starts to pop, and I'm just going to add a little bit here because this is where the shadow would be. And we would blend that. And again, you can take a little bit of the orange and you're going to blend that. I'm going to come around here, add a little bit of black. Sometimes I will even use a little bit of purple. You can see that's the purple color. That's a nice way to darken it up, but not to get too much black. If you get too much black, it'll get muddy. So you don't want that to happen, but we do want it to be dark. And again, you can see how even my finger helps really blend that. Like that. And I'm going to use the purple, I guess, and I'm going to pull some darkness all the way up. We're going to put just a tiny bit of that shadow where the stem would put a shadow on. Okay, so we have the bottom darkened. Now we just want to lighten up the top, where we're going to start to see some of the light from the moon. So I've got my yellow. I'm using it on the side and I'm blending it. And then I'm going to pull my white pastel. You can see it's got a bunch of different colors because it picks up a lot of colors. But we're going to go ahead and use it on the side and put some highlights on the top where we would have light from the moon, you know, the light source, or if we were doing it with sun. So you can see how that adds some highlights. And again, you can build on top of it. I'm going to put a little spot right here. And I'm going to do one side of my stem. I'm going to take my black and I'm going to darken up this side of the stem. And I'll go ahead and put some dark brown to blend in the black. You can kind of see how that happens. And I'm going to hold this up so you can look and see. There, I mean, it's pretty rough. You still can see that the colors are right next to each other. But there's the bottom. And that's the basics of how we're going to start coloring in our pumpkins. I would like you to spend time doing each of these 3 pumpkins in the same way. Okay? So you're just going to take time, layer all your different oranges, yellows, reds, white, and then black, even a little purple, and then your browns. And go ahead and just give it a little bit of an edge right at the top. Okay? So that's what our goal is for this week, is to get all 3 pumpkins finished so that they'll be ready to cut out next week. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Post something on Seesaw. I will color in my pumpkins as well, and I look forward to seeing yours. Have a great day.